Hi all, in today's tutorial I am going to show you step by step how to build a universal error handling workflow in n8n. Check out the links in the description if you would like to get all the resources used to build this automation. First, let us understand what an error trigger node is. It is a special node that activates automatically when any workflow execution fails due to an error. Instead of the workflow stopping silently, the error trigger node catches the error and allows you to define what happens next. Look at a small example. Open your n8n canvas. Here I am in the n8n canvas. Click on the plus sign here and select workflow option. Then click on the plus sign here and type in error in node search bar. Select this error trigger. It says here triggers the workflow when another workflow has an error. We can click on this more info to read about the error trigger node. Click on this fetch test event once. We can see the node executed successfully and it produced a sample output here. Right now this is not attached to any other workflow. Click on the back to canvas button here. I have provided the error workflow template that you can import and modify instead of building from scratch, which will save you some time. To import the template, click on this plus sign here and select the workflow option. Then click on the three dots here and select import from file. Navigate to the directory where you saved the template file. Select the template file and click open here. You can see the workflow has been imported. First we have this error trigger node. We have already seen this error trigger node. There is not much to configure in this node. We want to capture the error logs in a spreadsheet. Hence we are using the Google Sheets node here. Let me quickly show you the error logger Google Sheet file. Here is the Google Sheet file. I have provided the template of the Google Sheet file in the resources. We just have these fields: timestamp, workflow, URL, node, and error message. Let us switch back to n8n workflow. The Google Sheets node lets you automatically interact with Google Sheets within an n8n workflow. Double click on the node to open the configuration. You will need to create Google credentials to connect to your Google Drive where you stored the Google Sheet. You can refer to the link in the video description. Field, we selected sheet within document. In the operation field, we have append row as we are adding rows into the Google Sheet. In the document, here we have from list, and in this column, the name of the Google Sheet will be displayed. We have seen earlier the name is error logger. Similarly, in the sheet field we have from list, and this is the Google Sheet name, which is errors. Let me show you the Google Sheet. This is the sheet name that we selected there. In map column mode field, we have manual mapping selected as we have mapped these fields manually. Let us look at the Google Sheet again. Here we have timestamp. Here we have timestamp. Similarly, we have workflow, URL, node, error message. Those mappings correspond to these columns in the Google Sheet. In the timestamp field, we have mapped it to $now, which will have the current date and time at the time of error, and we have formatted it to display the date in this format. You can change the format if you want to. The workflow column, we have mapped it to the workflow name, and if we see it on the left hand side, it will be under the workflow section. Let me collapse this execution section. Here you see the workflow section, and here is the name of the workflow that we have mapped here. Similarly, we have this URL, which is the execution URL of the workflow. Let us expand this execution section. We mapped this URL field to this URL field. This will contain the failed execution link. Here you see the name field under the node section mapped to this column name. Then we have the error message mapped to the message field here. That's all we have for the Google Sheet configuration. We also want to be notified when the workflow encounters an error. For that, we are using Slack send message node. The send message node is used to send messages to Slack channels. It is commonly used in monitoring, error handling, and reporting workflows. Double click on the node to open the configuration page. In the credential to connect with field, you will need to specify your Slack account credentials. If you did not already create the credential, you can refer to the video link in the description. In the resource field, we have selected message as we will be sending a message. In the operation field, we have send as we are sending a message. In the send message to field, we have channel selected. In the channel field, we have this from list and on the right side we have the name of the channel, which is n8n demo. In the message type field we have simple text message selected. In the message text field we can enter the message we want to send to the Slack channel when the workflow error occurs. Click on this corner to make it full window. This is the message that we are sending. It says n8n workflow error alert. A workflow has encountered an error, and here are the details. We are saying date and time of the error. We have specified the $now JavaScript dynamic variable that will represent the current date and time. Then we are saying workflow name, and we have mapped the field that contains the workflow name under this workflow section. Then we are giving link to failed workflow, and we have mapped the execution URL that we got from here. This field under the execution section will have the execution URL. Then we are giving node where error occurred. We are giving the node name. We have mapped this name field here. Then we are giving the actual error message. We have mapped this message field here. Then we are saying please review the workflow and resolve the issue as soon as possible. We can close this window now. We also added an option here that says include link to workflow, and we have turned it off so that n8n does not automatically append the message with the line automated with this n8n workflow. I will show that to you later when we see the Slack application. This completes the Slack node configuration and also the error handler workflow configuration. In order to make this work, we need to attach this error handler workflow to another workflow that might produce an error which will be captured in this error handler workflow. Notice the name of this error handler workflow here that says FBS error handler. Since we will need to give this name in the other workflow where we will be attaching this error handler workflow. Here is the workflow that we are going to test. This is the workflow of WhatsApp AI chatbot. You can chat on WhatsApp using this chatbot. Let us first attach this workflow to our error handler workflow. In order to do that, click on the three dots here and click on the settings option here. You can see this error workflow field. You can hover on the question mark. It will show you more description about that field. It says a second workflow to run if the current one fails. The second workflow should be an error trigger node. We have already created the error trigger node in the FBS error handler workflow. Click on this drop down box and then select this FBS error handler. Then click this save button. Now we cannot test error workflows by running them manually here by clicking text workflow button. The error trigger only runs when an automatic workflow errors occur. To simulate the automatic workflow error, let us activate this workflow by toggling this button to on position. Now our workflow is active. Let us take a look at the error log Google worksheet. You can see currently it is not having any data. Also, let me show my WhatsApp desktop app first. Here is where we are going to see our chat messages when workflow runs successfully. Let me also show the Slack desktop app. Here is where we are going to see an error message if the workflow fails with any kind of error. I mentioned about the option we activated earlier in the Slack node. When we switch off, you will not see this automated with this n8n workflow message. If you don't include that option, or if that option is turned on, you will see this message appended to every Slack message that you receive. Since we don't want to see this automated with this n8n workflow message appended to every message, we turn that option to off position. Let us switch back to our WhatsApp chatbot workflow. Here everything looks good with our WhatsApp chatbot, and it should run normally when a message is received from WhatsApp. Let us switch to WhatsApp now. We will run the workflow once. I typed in tell a joke in the chat here and hit enter. The workflow ran and then we got the message from our WhatsApp chatbot. It told us the joke, why don't skeletons fight each other? Because they don't have guts. We can also come to our WhatsApp chatbot workflow and click on this executions tab. You can see the latest execution that ran just now is succeeded. Here you can see the succeeded message. Now let us switch back to the workflow. Now let us introduce an error by deleting this chat model. Let me delete this OpenAI chat model and hit save button. Now if we run this workflow, it should produce an error since it cannot process the chat message because we disconnected the OpenAI chat model. Now let us go back to the WhatsApp. I typed in again tell a joke and press enter. I waited for some time. I did not get any response from our chatbot. Let us look at the error logger Google Sheet now. We can see one row got added here. It says the workflow has failed with this error message. It says a chat model subnode must be connected and enabled. It is saying that because we have disconnected the OpenAI node. Here it is giving the node name also as AI agent, and here it has given the workflow name, and here it has given the timestamp. We can also look at the workflow that is in error by clicking on this link. The Google Sheet update is working fine as the error is logged here. Let us look at our Slack channel. You see we got this error message on our Slack channel. It says n8n workflow error alert. A workflow has encountered an error. Here are the details: date and time, workflow name, link to failed workflow, and node where the error occurred, and the exact error message also is given here. Please review the workflow and resolve the issue as soon as possible. We can click on this link to look at the error workflow. Here you can see the failed workflow. Keep in mind that in order for the error workflow to trigger, this failed workflow should be in error state here. There can be some workflow failures that may not produce a hard error, for example connection issue or API call issues. In that case, it will not trigger the error workflow. Now let us look at the error handler workflow itself. Click on the executions tab here. The error workflow ran successfully and provided us the details about the failed workflow. Here you see the status succeeded, and here it updated the Google Sheets, and here it sent us the Slack message. We can confirm everything worked as expected.